Well folks, today I'm going to do that thing you love to see, a tiny amount of information turned into a video by a YouTuber. But you know what, I wanted to talk about it. Now at EA Play Live, we saw no official teaser, so to speak, for the next Battlefield game. That was pretty much unsurprising. We know that EA likes to keep their cards as close to their chest in terms of both the setting and other things involved with the game until around about May 2021, considering that's the year of release. You should expect to see the odd teaser trailer in the build-up to EA Play in 2021 in May, then they'll reveal the trailer or some of the gameplay at EA Play, and then they'll do gameplay again at Gamescom, and then you'll have the final release somewhere in and around September and October. But what we did get to see was an exciting tech demo for something that might mean quite a lot for the future of Battlefield in terms of what's trying to be achieved here and the scope and scale of the game that we're going to see. So briefly mentioned at EA Play was the future of gaming. You know, they wanted to touch on the fact that they're not revealing a lot of stuff this year, but they also wanted to show that they're also not doing anything. For example, we saw a brief teaser trailer for Dragon Age 4, a brief teaser trailer for some other stuff here and there from various different development companies across EA, most of them using the Frostbite engine. So it was just their polite way of flexing, yes guys, we know the PS5 and Xbox Series X exists, here are some things we're doing for it. But in that very tiny segment we got a nice idea of what the idea hopefully is with Battlefield 6 and the direction it's going to be going in. Now the content of these games is still completely unknown, and don't take any of the content you're seeing in this tech demo as, you know, anything that's going to be in the game. These are all obviously placeholders. I, as much as anybody else, watched this thing like 20 times over to be sure. Yeah, you know, maybe that is something, but it isn't. It really isn't. It's all just placeholder stuff that's from present Frostbite engine iterations, character models and weapon models that we've seen before. For a very, very brief moment of time, I thought we were seeing Vietnamese soldiers with MAS 36 rifles, but it was very obvious eventually that this was just placeholder elements from the current games that they have, and that's expected. You know, it's not going to reveal the actual location or setting of the current game. That wouldn't make any sense. Although, interestingly, I did note that there was a satellite dish or something of that variety on the building that was destroyed in the tech demo, and that's interesting because the character model demo featured, obviously, historical World War II soldiers from placeholders, but the actual destruction tech demo featured a modern building. And considering the last modern title was Hardline back in like 2015, I think, it's pretty interesting that they're working on modern buildings, and that might perhaps indicate that yes, indeed, the next Battlefield game is a modern title. In terms of the character models and stuff like that, it was clearly that that was just an AI tech demo and not related to the actual content of the character models. But when it comes to destruction, you don't build destructive models for buildings without taking into account the actual setting of those buildings. It would be a very long-term process if you built just one building for a tech demo for a 3-second clip at EA Play. That seems very unlikely. So interesting that there was a satellite dish, and there are some reliable sources on the internet at the moment saying that this is 100% going to be a modern title, so it's interesting to see. But let's talk about these tech demos. What did they showcase to us, and what is going on? You know, why are we seeing these tech demos this early, and what will it tell us about the next Battlefield game? So what do these tech demos tell us? Possibly 3 things about the next Battlefield game. Number 1, destruction is coming back in a very serious way. The tech demo you witnessed seemed to be almost procedural levels of destruction of a building, and that kind of destruction levels hasn't been seen in any Battlefield game for a very long time, especially to the visual fidelity that you saw in that model. Now, of course, that might not be the final product that we see in the game, but in terms of the destruction, if you look at previous Battlefield games like Battlefield 4, it was very much a sort of set piece kind of setup where if you blew up a side of a building, a very specific chunk of that building would fall down, and there wasn't much visual variation to what would go on. But if you look at this destruction tech demo, you're seeing effectively loads of compartments in various different parts of a building collapsing at the same time. And this is a level of advancement that we haven't seen in quite some time, and I think an almost unparalleled level of destruction that we haven't seen in any kind of Battlefield game before. Now, we don't know whether or not the next game is going to release on PS4 and Xbox One, and I think the reason they're releasing the game in 2021 is partially because they're not going to. I think these are going to be exclusively next-gen only games, and the reason I say that was due to all of the trouble that Battlefield 4 had and how much it had to limit itself in terms of what it could do, because they knew that they were running on previous gen consoles as well. If you look at Battlefield 5's level of destruction and visual fidelity, I believe that level of destruction and visual fidelity could have been achieved in Battlefield 4 had it been a next-gen only game. And I feel like that's probably been recognized by DICE, and I think it'd be very surprised to see the next Battlefield game release on PS4 and Xbox One. I do strongly feel as though these are going to be next-gen titles only. Another quick thing to note about this is look at the size and scale of this building. We're normally used to like 2- and 3-story buildings being destroyed in Battlefield, but this seems to be much bigger, and that perhaps indicates that we're seeing, of course, a modern setting to some degree, but also it indicates that we're seeing an expansion of what is possible in terms of destruction. You know, it won't be a Levolution event of a skyscraper going down. You know, you might see a 5- or 6-story building collapse, because that will be possible in the next generation of consoles, and the power that those consoles have in terms of how much resources they can pull, how much memory bandwidth they have, how much graphical and CPU power they possess as well. So this level of destructibility seems to be at the forefront of what will be going on. And my last 2 points revert to scope and scale, and also the AI involvement. Now, for those of you who don't know, EA uses something called SEED. SEED is Searching for Extraordinary Experiences. It's a department at EA that focuses on things like machine learning, neural networks, and artificial intelligence. Now, SEED's AI system is currently in Star Wars Battlefront 2. The AI in Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is actually pretty damn good AI, to be honest with you, is what features in that game, and it looks like more likely than not, this is going to feature in the next Battlefield title. Now, whilst I don't think the 64 player count will be increased, it's possible it might be, but I don't see it being particularly likely due to networking restraints. It is very possible that you're going to see a large involvement of AI elements to really bring about that wartime feel. You know, even in a modern title, you do need a large boots on the ground presence to get people feeling as though they're in a combat situation. And I feel like we're going to see these AI elements come in to sort of spice up the place a bit, make gameplay a little bit more interesting in terms of taking out AI opponents, and also things like destructibility and other things like that are quite important. You know, too often than not, when you play a game of Battlefield 4, the map just feels too open, empty, barren, and bare to feel like a battlefield is actually going on. Likewise, in Battlefield 5, some of the maps feel really quiet. It just, you know, doesn't feel like a wartime setting, and I feel like a lot of the AI is going to be implemented in this case to try and fill that void. I feel like Titanfall 2 is a great example of AI that really makes PvP experiences feel a bit more wholesome, feels like there's a bit more action going on around you, and I expect to see the same kind of thing here. It also indicates that we might see just a larger scope and scale of the game, full stop. If we have AI elements in the game, even if we're still at a 64 player count, that does mean that perhaps we might see some larger maps, possibly increased vehicle counts, and maybe even an increased player count over 64. But that's all just speculation at the moment. I must say though that this tech demo does of course identify how much is at stake here for the next game. You know, this is a next generation product that can do so many different things that we haven't seen in current generation products. Even if you're somebody who is on PC, at the end of the day, AAA development companies develop for the intention of what the consoles can achieve. Battlefield 4, Hardline 5, all of them, Battlefield 1 included, are limited by what consoles can do. And if those limitations are suddenly stripped off with a new generational improvement in power, it'll be interesting to see what the new standard of AAA games are. Because what we need to recognize here is that even, you know, the smaller developers on PC don't have the technology capable to do something like procedural destruction to that scope and scale. So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen here, but I'm definitely banking on the fact that we're going to see AI in the next Battlefield game. They have been taught to play Battlefield 1 in the past as per a blog post in 2018. They do exist in Star Wars Battlefront 2. I think we are going to see possibly a slightly higher player count, but that's of course very much on the restrictions of what's possible in networking, and perhaps just larger battlefields in general. You know, this map could be a little bit bigger, the maps in general just could be a little bit bigger, and we'll just have to wait and see. But anywho folks, that's it from me today, TheTacticalBrit. I'm really interested to see what's up for the future of Battlefield. It feels as though we're heading towards a new generational milestone in terms of what is feasibly possible on gaming systems, and I really hope that we get to see the best of what DICE can offer in the next generation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you again in the next one.